Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of our F1 23 Driver Career Mode. I hope you're all doing great. Today we are finally back. I have been sick. I was under the weather for several days and we're finally back to finish out the season. And I decided since I've been gone for so long, we're going to have a double race episode to finish out season number 4 of this career mode. So we have both Jeddah and Brazil coming your way today, where we come in a basically a very simple scenario into Jeddah. We have to beat the McLarens. We got to beat Albon. We got to beat Jackson to give ourselves any chance going into Brazil. We will, however, be taking a grid penalty this weekend. So we had to replace the gearbox. A new gearbox in the car, as the previous one was just a bit too worn to risk going to the end of the season. It was going to be destroyed by probably the end of this Grand Prix. So obviously we will be looking to qualify as far up the grid as we can, so the grid penalty doesn't hurt us too much. But you know, getting acclimated with the track again here in qualifying or practice, sorry, of course it's been a hot minute since I've been able to actually drive in this game since I was sick, so it actually taken me a minute to kind of get back into the swing of things, but I felt like I would, you know, actually adapt pretty quickly, and I was kind of back up to speed and ready to go. That was the main thing. So you can see by lap 3, I mean, we had found a good 7-8 tenths of a second on the delta as we crossed the line. So yeah, I was pretty happy with where we were. Verstappen in their P3, Aiden Jackson tops the charts there, P1 in FP1 now as we roll into qualifying. And yeah, I mean, the task is simple. You know, a lot of things have been decided recently here in this career mode. We of course have signed an extension with Red Bull Ford for the next few seasons, so we are going to be tied down there, so there's no more stress in, you know, figuring out our future of our career mode. We can just focus in on doing what we got to do. Q1, very simple. We get through, and the 5 drivers out: Lawson, Porcher, Joe, Hughes, as well as Devin Butler in the Connor Sport machine. We roll into Q2 as we dive down into this first couple of corners there. A little bit of a rough turn 2 there, not what I was looking for, in the exit as well. Not very good as we get really close to the wall there on the turn in, but we've had an accident, and there it is. We punctured the left rear tire, destroyed the front wing, and our qualifying comes to an early and unexpected end here in Jeddah. And you see the replay, I lost it. I simply lost it, and yeah, wrecked myself. Nothing, no excuses. That was all on me right there. And now we are P15, starting from the back of the grid, and we might as well basically just put a whole new engine in the car and just send it as hard as we can going into the Grand Prix. The task is simple: beat the McLarens. It's going to be a little bit more difficult now. As said, to Sunday in Jeddah.
We're here today on the shores of the Red Sea in the lower Hijaz Mountains to visit one of the newest circuits on the Formula One calendar. We're in Jeddah, home to what we all hope is going to be a thrilling Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So let's take a look at the topographical map of the Jeddah Street Circuit. As you can see, a number of challenging corners for the drivers to master here. We'll see just how much the teams have benefited from their time spent in practice this weekend. And like many street circuits, this track has the potential to punish drivers that get it wrong. Let's hope we avoid any safety cars today. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and it's Aiden Jackson alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Albon, Leclerc, Sainz, Oscar Piastri, Norris, Russell, Tsunoda, Gasly, Ocon, Iwasa, Mayer, Drugovich, Liam Lawson, Teo Porcher, Joe, Hughes, Butler, and Golden Boy. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Obviously, you know, not exactly the scenario we expected to be in today, and we're going a bit desperate. We need to do things, so we're going to be starting on the softs, going to the mediums instead of the mediums to hards like we commonly do when we're not desperate to make up some ground. Let's get ready to roll for the formation lap.
The formation lap gets underway then, and it's going to be interesting today to see how the dry conditions could affect the lifespan of the tyres.
Max Verstappen in his final few races for Red Bull has been on an absolute tear recently. Starts from pole tonight. You see a big mix of softs and mediums. Jackson splitting the McLarens. He starts on the medium tire.
So as all the cars take their positions on the grid, the teams will be hoping their strategies pay off for them in today's race. The question I'm asking is which teams have got it right and which ones have got it horribly wrong?
Alright team, sorry about qualifying. I'm going to make it up to you guys tonight.
Don't sweat it, mate. We've got the best driver on the grid in our car. Get after it.
A few words of encouragement from Mark, and like we said, you know, to start off the episode, the task is extremely simple. We have to beat, you know, not both McLarens, but specifically we have to beat Albon to have any chance at a championship here going into Brazil. Season 4, looking for our first world title. We're ready to go racing in Jeddah now. 5 red lights. Verstappen's going to be leading the way. It's lights out. We're underway. The penultimate round of the season is underway here. I'm going to play it pretty safe down into turn 1 just to try to not get into trouble. It's 3 wide already up front. Verstappen's gotten away, but Albon as well as Jackson going at it. And Jackson through into second over Albon. The 2 Ferraris of Leclerc as well as Sainz trail behind, but Alex Albon, the championship leader, drops to 3rd place, and Jackson's going to try and hang on, but Jackson's on the mediums, and Albon, he's on those softs, so he's going to have, of course, a early advantage here in this Grand Prix, and I expect him to go after Albon pretty quickly, or sorry, after Jackson pretty quickly, and go get that 2nd position and try to open up that gap between himself and his teammate, and maybe solidify a championship here today, depending on what happens between Jackson and then, of course, myself. And you can see, I've only gained 2 spots in these opening moments in the first sector, but fortunately we're at a Red Bull, and at the end of the day this car is going to be absolutely flying in a straight line compared to some of these cars around us, so there was not, you know, any form of panic setting in at this point. Now we're going to swing to the right. We're going to get the pair of Williams taken care of immediately. We passed both Jake Hughes as well as Zhou Guanyu. Very likely we see both of those drivers back at Williams Martini next season. But yeah, I mean, we passed them, and we would very quickly run down the next group of cars here, and unfortunately at the end of lap 1, EA's terrible AI coding, they ghost inside of each other, but we get through, well, not through anything, we get through at least the first few corners without getting involved in the mess. But you can see Callie Merritt getting the elbows out, gets past what looks to be our future teammate, Felipe Drukovich, and you can see he's going to go down back side by side with Callie through the long sweeping left-hander. 2 rows of side by side. Drivers just going at it. Now I'm going to try and slip through right here. We're going to try and steal the spot from Mayer. That will move us up into P15. Now behind Drukovich, the pair of cars in front of us of Gasly and Pourchaire were going at it. We get through now 3 wide side by side. We were able to just use that moment of near incident to actually our advantage, and we move up into P13, and Tail Pourchaire should be a very easy overtake as well, as he runs P12, likely in his final couple of races in Formula 1 as well. Does not sound like he will be returning to Formula 1 next season. And the battles, I mean, they're continuing everywhere. Here's Albon now starting in lap 3, going for the overtake on his teammate of Aiden Jackson here. Jackson on the left, Albon on the right. How hard is Jackson going to make this? Because he's trying to keep his championship hopes alive, just like I am here under the lights tonight in Jeddah. And Jackson stays ahead briefly, and as that was happening, actually, we had Yuki Tsunoda make some contact with one of the Mercedes and pick up some wing damage, so he was coming into the pits here at the start of this 3rd lap. So that would put us up into P11. Moments later after that, and here comes Albon again, trying to go around the outside. I think he's going to be successful in this attempt. I mean, Jackson's done a tremendous job, but it's only been a couple of laps, of course, of battling, but he's done a great job, and that's unfortunately for them allowed Verstappen to drive away. But you can see Leclerc as well was able to pounce on that opportunity as Albon completed the overtake, and he would pass him. So Jackson down to 4th, Albon to 2nd, Leclerc to 3rd, and Sainz currently runs in 5th. We continue to move forward now. We have run down just about about Ocon and Iwasa. We were about 3 seconds behind them. We've cut it in half, and they would continue to have a little bit of a scrap back and forth, and that would allow me to get within the DRS range. So now Ayumu Iwasa, another driver that's sounding like he will not be returning to the grid next season in Formula 1. Well, we're going to be able to pass him down this front straightaway. We both have a big run on Esteban Ocon here as we come through to start lap 5 of this Grand Prix. And this overtake right here, 3 wide around the outside, successful, and into the top 10 we go. We have been absolutely flying in these opening moments. Of course, a brand new engine and a brand new gearbox, and it's all been working to perfection so far. As I say that, the gearbox just failed, and well, we're out of the race, and the championship's over just like that. It's broken. The gearbox just broke. I can't believe that, guys. We're done. It's over.
I'm sorry, mate. Our run is over. Stop the car. Stop the car.
I'm so sorry, Gary. You gave it everything this year, and this isn't the end we deserve. We'll win this thing next year.
It's over. Our championship run comes to an early end in Jeddah. Now you know why I packed 2 races into one, because this. Leclerc as well, at the same time, by the way, had a mechanical failure, his 7th DNF of the season, but our season has officially come to a heartbreaking end. It always sucks when it's a mechanical, issue, and you look back, as well. By the way, Max Verstappen wins again. He's been on an absolute tear lately. If only he could have found this comfortability in the Red Bull earlier in the season, it could have changed the whole future for him, with Red Bull Racing as well. At the same time, I don't think it would have too much because he was just looking for that change. Albon 2nd, Jackson 5th. We're 20th. We had to beat Albon to have a chance to go for a title in Brazil. That didn't happen. So, we're out. Albon and Jackson are left to fight it out in Brazil, and Albon has a pretty comfortable gap of 17 points. Basically, Jackson has to go for the race victory, and Albon has to have a lot of issues, just put it in simple terms. If we didn't start the season, behind in the R&D, we would have a shot to win this championship. It just wasn't meant to be, and Season 5 is hopefully where it is. We adapted more parts, by the way, but we stayed within the 10,000 resource point limit, or 20,000 resource point limit going into next season. However, probably not going to make a huge difference. I think a lot of the teams are going to be similar, and we will be staying with 16 races for next season instead for that reason. We're going to jump straight through into qualifying for, well, the official season finale Grand Prix here in Brazil. And we start with a wet circuit, actually, and we were on the intermediate, so it started wet. It got better as the session went on, so I went to the top of the board immediately, and it was a very simple session. Calimere, Joe, as well as Iwasa, Hughes, and Butler all out in the final qualifying session. Q1, Butler never made a lap on the Inters, surprisingly. Q2 had to avoid a bit of a George Russell there in the way. He decided to just be planted right in the racing line. But right at the end of Q2, it was similar to Q1, where the conditions were improving, but now we were improving from, wet towards dry, and you can see DRS would get enabled. So I set the first lap, go top of the board, but with the conditions drastically improving, 1 minute makes a huge difference in this kind of scenario. So we made a second lap, and you can see the positions getting shuffled around a bit, but we would stay top of the board as it was Norris out. Liam Lawson gets his Alfa Romeo Haas into the top 10. How about that? And Norris will be out in Q number 2. We roll into Q3. By the end of the session, it had dried up completely. Brazil, this is a track we've had success at in the past. We won back here in season number 2 with the Aston Martin. Of course, the final Grand Prix right here for Aston Martin before they sell to Trackhouse Racing going into next season. Really the biggest story next season alongside the Verstappen and Hamilton project with Ferrari. But our first lap, it was a bit sloppy and we end up P7, but we set a second lap here in a last effort, of course, qualifying this season in this Red Bull Ford, the first season of this collaborative project between the two, of course, the team of Red Bull and the manufacturer of Ford. As we come through, though, these first couple of sectors, we make some very solid gains, 0.3 of a second as we were coming to the end of this second sector, and you can see gaining a little bit more, and we would gain about 4.5 tenths just about as we came through to the line, and we would see a huge boost up into second place. It's a Red Bull front row lockout as Albon third, Jackson in fifth. Albon has him right where he needs him. It's looking like an Alex Albon championship here today, as we are guaranteed to see, of course, a first-time world champion in Brazil. Let's enter the grid and determine it.
Formula One returns to Interlagos once again with the stage set for what promises to be another classic Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel famously clinched his third championship here in 2012, and just 4 years later, Max Verstappen treated us to one of the finest wet weather drives of all time. Interlagos, always a very special race here in Brazil. It's a 2.7-mile circuit with 9 lefts and 6 rights for a total of 15 corners. The fastest lap today should have an average speed of around 135 miles per hour, if, of course, the weather stays dry until the end of the Grand Prix. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, just edging out Alex Albon, who'll start from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Oscar Piastri, Jackson, Sainz, Leclerc, Golden Boy, Tsunoda, Russell, Liam Lawson, Norris, Ocon, Gasly, Drugovich, Teo Pourchaire, Mayer, Iwasa, Hughes, Butler and Zhou Guanyu. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. And with me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. The last few races have been a bit rough for them, unable to get a clean run. That's got to have some effect on their confidence, surely.
Certainly confidence is an important factor. And every time you're involved in an incident, it's not just the car you damage, but that confidence as well. But all the top racing drivers are able to tune that out when the race gets underway and focus on the job at hand.
I forgot to mention, we are taking another grid penalty, obviously, because of the gearbox failure. But we're going to be going back to the usual strategy, mediums to hards. Very confident in the pace of this car. And we have a lot of pace in Brazil every season, so let's get after it.
Here we go then. The formation lap gets underway and the excitement here is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race. Which team will come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? Well, we'll soon find out.
Albon sticking with the soft tire, and so does his teammate Aiden Jackson, while Verstappen and Piastri both in the top 3, starting on the mediums.
So as all the cars reform the grids, the drivers will be hoping to get a strong start. They'll want to earn some valuable points from today's race, with final communications being done with their race engineers, ensuring the planned strategies are all in place.
All right, team, thanks for the hard work. Jeddah didn't go the way we wanted, but let's finish it on a high note today.
Thanks for the hard work all year, team. Let's have a good ending.
A lot of finales today. Of course, Verstappen's last ride with the Red Bull program before going to Ferrari. Leclerc, Sainz last ride with Ferrari before they depart their teams as well. Other drivers saying goodbye from the sport, but more importantly, a champion is about to be crowned. It's Verstappen, Albon front row. We're lights out. We're underway here now. The final race for Aston Martin's off to a bit of a rough start. Piastri's gone from 3rd to nowhere. He's gone in the background as he's 3 wide under attack into turn number 1. Look at this. We got 3 rows of 3 wide in the opening corner. They were absolutely scrapping it up. We still got 1 row going at it right here, but a terrible start for Oscar Piastri in the finale for this Aston Martin team as we go down through these first sets of corners here in these opening moments. But it's Max Verstappen out in front, Albon right behind him on the softs. You can see Jackson just behind myself, as well as the Ferrari there now. Carlos Sainz in his final race for Ferrari. It is sounding basically guaranteed that he will be going to the BMW team next season, replacing Ayumu Iwasa. I think that's going to be really cool because Fernando Alonso, of course, as we know, heavily involved with that team. Now he's going to be bringing over, the Spanish driver of Sainz. And speaking of Sainz, at the end of lap 1, actually, he was all over me. Now, keep in mind, he's on softs, while myself, Verstappen, we're both on mediums. Both myself and Verstappen, the only 2 cars in the top 5 right now on the medium compound tire. And you can see right here, Sainz is going to go and take the position from me. So we dropped down into 4th place, but we also know, the mediums are going to kick in, the softs are going to fade, so it's really just a waiting game, trying to stay within contact, within reach here of the Ferrari, and as well try to not lose another spot to Jackson. But Alex Albon currently doing everything he needs to do as he is about to become a Formula One world champion, which is incredible for him. We have yet to see a new champion in the first 3 seasons of this career mode. Of course, we have seen Lewis Hamilton win his 8th championship in season 2. We saw Max Verstappen win his 3rd in season 1 and his 4th last season there in season number 3. But here this season has been a whole different vibe. The top 3 in the standings, all drivers looking for the first world championship: Albon, Jackson, and myself. As we come through to lap 8, you can start to see the mediums are starting to kick in. Albon right now is losing connection to Max Verstappen, and I'm starting to put a little bit of pressure on Sainz, so you can see right there starting to slip and slide around a little bit. So I'm putting, constant pressure on Sainz, and I'm going to go throw a bit of a curveball overtaking opportunity at him right here, and around the outside, and now of course up the inside, we go into the right-hander. We'll take it. So up into 3rd place, and it's really just going to be a matter of laps until we're all over the back of Alex Albon here, and going for that 2nd position, going a little bit deep there into that final braking zone, so we lose a little bit of time on the exit, but still, nonetheless, we'll have that DRS. Sainz is only about 4/10 of a second behind, so he's not too far back, but still not close enough. We fast forward to the end of lap 9, and here's the overtaking opportunity with the DRS assistance on Alex Albon. We'll go to the right side here, and we're going to be able to brake so much deeper than him currently, and you can see, sure enough, we represent exactly that. We take 2nd place, and we're going to win this race, I think. I mean, the pace is just really good. It reminds me of season 2 in the Aston Martin when we were just absolutely flying. If we didn't have that mechanical failure in Jeddah, I'm confident, things could have gone our way and we could have beat, both of the McLarens and had a realistic shot to win the championship here in Brazil. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be, but what could have been? Because, our pace is great, and we're running down, our teammate of Max Verstappen. And we've only been teammates with him, of course, for 1 season, and it'll end on 1 season as he's headed to Ferrari. As Ferrari, of course, makes this desperate attempt to, get that star lineup, of course, with both Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton returning from retirement after just 1 season. That's going to be exciting, but you can see, we have run down Max Verstappen, and we have both driven away from the cars from behind us now. 3 seconds about behind is Albon, and he's under a lot of pressure right now from Carlos Sainz. Jackson has lost connection with both of them, really not showing the pace in that McLaren, and, unless something crazy happens, it's just not going to happen for Aiden Jackson. But Jackson, in his 2nd season ever in Formula One, I have a bit of a moment there. I was about to talk about Verstappen as well, losing grip, but then I do the same thing. We save it, and, we would be able to run him right back down, and with the DRS being, a big help right here as we continue now, and only a little bit over 20 laps to go at this point now. And at this point as well, Albon and Jackson, they were both making their pit stops. Albon had pitted a lap ago. At this point, Jackson's pitting now. Sainz is coming in, so all the drivers on the softs are now pitting here, as we're going to have an opportunity right here with the DRS on the run down towards turn 4. Verstappen protects left, will swing around the outside of the Dutchman, and we're going to take the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Now we continue to just try and do what we've done all Grand Prix long, and that's just setting a really lightning quick pace compared to these guys and try to drive away. This is why I wanted to have a chance to win the championship today, because I'm so confident when it comes to this circuit here in Sao Paulo. It's unfortunate, here around Interlagos, that it's not going to happen for us, but hopefully next season, because we will be still ending next season in Brazil. But our pit window opens on lap 18, so we're going to come into the pits. We have run, a good 3 extra laps compared to Albon and Jackson, Sainz, Leclerc, and as I have maybe the worst pit entry as I've ever had in my career, but we somehow save it and get down to the pit speed at the same time. That could have gone really bad, but we're going to come in, but we will be losing the lead no matter what. Both myself and Verstappen are going to be a bit further down the order, and you can see right here as we head back out onto the racing track, you can see Albon on the track map right there. He's able to pass me, so we're going to come out in between him and the Spaniard of Carlos Sainz. Here we go, out back onto the track here, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because they're on mediums, we're on hards. It's going to take a few laps, kind of like we saw earlier, where it took a little bit for the mediums to kick in. It's going to take a bit for the hards to kick in. That would allow Carlos Sainz to run me down and put some immediate pressure on me on the run down towards turn 1. Max Verstappen has made his pit stops. He's exiting his pit box right now, and we're going to be out in front of him. He's going to be behind both Ferraris right now, but ahead of Aiden Jackson, who's continuing to struggle. And how about Sainz putting a lot of pressure on me, fighting for what could be maybe his last chance for a podium in Formula 1, depending on what team he ends up in. He's going to launch it down into turn 4. He goes for a slide. We switch back on him, and we take the position back. We go back into second place. Albon's loving every second of it, but now as we come through to lap 21, you can see now hitting 22 that we're actually able to hold Sainz off for a straightaway, and now we can try to focus in on running down that McLaren. Verstappen's all over the back of the both Ferraris now, so he is able to move forward, but we've cut the gap down to 1.3 seconds to Alex Albon. We're starting to reel him in as these closing laps are underway, approaching just 10 laps to go here in Brazil. And as we cross the stripe, a bit of an unexpected lunge actually from Carlos Sainz down towards turn 1. This caught me way off guard here, but fortunately we would stay ahead again, and now the gap was starting to really close between myself and the McLaren. You can see down to 1 second, 9/10 of a second, actually close enough to get DRS on Albon right here, and this is going to change everything. And through the second sector now, watch the gap, down to 7/6 of a second. We dive deep into the corner. We're able to close it to half a second, now 4/10 of a second. It's just a matter of moments at this point until we're going to have an opportunity to take the lead of this Brazilian Grand Prix. Now, as we come to lap 26, Albon was actually able to have enough pace down the straightaway to stay ahead of myself, so we just got to be patient. We know we're quicker. We're going to get him as these laps go on. And as we approach just 10 laps to go, that opportunity would arise here. Now, all over the back of Albon as the DRS would be activated, we swing to the left side of the what could be the future champion of Formula 1 now, but Albon stays ahead. Yellow flag here in the last couple of corners. That's one of the Mercedes that's gone for a spin. We'll have to take a look here momentarily, but still all over the back of Albon. We'll swing back to the left side again, rear weighing open, and here we go, wheel to wheel, side by side on the run down towards turn 4. We take the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix, and now let's go through the grid for the final time in season 4.
Our final through the grid this year as Owen takes the lead away from Alex Albon, who is just 10 laps away from being crowned champion of the world.
What a season it has been watching this title battle. Owen and Red Bull came on strong in the last half, but a mechanical failure, of course, had the final say.
Sorry to butt in, guys, but I would have loved to see what this would look like if Owen didn't have that failure in Jeddah. It could have been an epic battle.
We could have still had an epic battle today, but Jackson just hasn't had the pace. He runs down in 6th and is starting to fall back into the Aston Martins.
Yeah, Aiden just hasn't quite had that pace in the last half the year, really. He was just good enough to hang on to Alex as the season went on, of course. Nonetheless, still an incredible second season for the young driver, who I'm sure will be fighting for the title again next year.
And of course, some farewells this season to the whole team of Aston Martin, who will be leaving for the Trackhouse takeover. Drivers as well we know are leaving include Porsche, Iwasa and possibly Devon Butler.
And I expect Sainz to replace Iwasa, and Tsunoda likely will go to Porsche's spot next year. It sounds like Trackhouse will keep Piastri and bring Leclerc to the team.
From everyone here on the commentary team, we'd like to thank you viewers for the support to Formula Owen all season long. And we look forward to being back in season 5 of the career mode, with many things to bring even more excitement.
There is the final through the grid for season number 4. What a heck of a season, of course, it has been as we come through in these closing laps. Now you see at the bottom of the grid, JQ's Porsche as well as Iwasa, both Porsche and Iwasa having terrible days here now. Both drivers, of course, out of the sport from the looks of it at the end of the season. Norris, that was his spin, harmless and all on his own there, and no safety car because he just didn't block any traffic. It was all, like I said, you know, on his own, really nowhere to impede any traffic. But now, as you can see, lap 31, look at this. This is Carlos Sainz on the run towards turn 4, passing Albon here. So Sainz is able to get into 3rd place. Verstappen had already gotten through in the whole through the good process and whatnot. He had driven up into 2nd place. So it's a Red Bull 1-2 right now. Sainz in 3rd, and we're about to see Alex Albon potentially win the championship and, not even on the podium here. McLaren just doesn't seem to have the pace today. Now, lapping cars in these closing laps of this Brazilian Grand Prix. Jackson's actually under pressure right now from the Aston Martins. He's just not had the pace today in Brazil, and it's all Alex Albon. That's who the story is on. That's who the spotlight is on in these closing moments. Of course, we've done a great job today. The hard tires have prevailed for both myself and my teammate of Verstappen, but the spotlight, it's not on me. It's been a heck of a season. We've won 6 races this season. We're about to win 7, which will be more than anybody. Fortunately, this is not NASCAR where winning is everything. This is Formula 1 where winning matters, but so does season-long consistency, and we have had moments where we have been lackluster at that, and as well a few mechanical failures, 3 to be exact, and it's not going to be a championship with win number 7, but still, win number 7, our first time having the most wins of anybody in a Formula 1 season. We will take that here in Brazil, but Alex Albon is officially a Formula 1 world champion now. Not quite the dramatic end to a season we were maybe expecting, but Albon is a champion. We earn driver of the day. Let's see the postseason celebrations.
And with that, another year of Formula 1 draws to a close, and a new World Drivers' Champion is declared. Another entry added to that prestigious list of the sport's most incredible drivers.
Obviously, not the way I was hoping in the season, but, awesome to see a new champion in Formula 1, and Alex Albon being the champion, even cooler. There's so many things to look forward to going into Season 5. Honestly, I was extremely excited going into Season 4. I'm even more excited going into Season 5 with Ferrari's superstar bid, of course, to get them back on top with the Verstappen and Hamilton lineup. But, of course, there could be some drama there with those two. And then we, of course, have a new team coming into the sport, and it's an exciting team. It's not just any team, and it's a very exciting one with Trackhouse Racing, of course, taking over all the assets of Aston Martin, and that's going to be very exciting to watch as well. We still don't know really their official lineup, although it sounds like it's basically Leclerc as well as Piastri. We will have official confirmation of that in the next episode, in the off-season episode, that is. We have a lot to cover in the off-season episode because there's still quite a few roster changes to go over. We end up 29 points back on Jackson and Albon there in front of us, but yeah, a heck of a season. McLaren, they get 1-2 in the Drivers' Championship, and they win the Constructors' Championship as well. Myself and Verstappen were on form at the end of the season. It felt like it just wasn't enough to make up for, of course, the, inconsistencies. And now to wrap up the season, there's where we started. There's where everybody started with the regulation changes, and, of course, where we ended. I don't think we're going to see a big difference with regulation changes next season, which is why we are getting a shorter season. There you see, the finishing results for everybody. Leclerc, the standout, further down the order than he should be, and he had mechanical failures all season long, which eventually led him to leave Ferrari at the end of this season. That wraps it up for Season 4. I appreciate your guys' support all season long. I hope you're looking forward to Season 5. Next episode will be the off-season and the preseason testing, and I hope you guys are looking forward to that very much. An exciting season on the way. 16 races. It's going to be action-packed. I'll see you guys then. Thank you guys for watching. Have yourselves a great day.